for a Zeri, so we won't see the Zeri that helped BLG win game 1, and I think that is correct call.
Yeah, so Zeri gone, Yuumi gone, Sivir gone, Aphelios gone, Kalista gone. There's not many things available in the bottom lane. How is this Lucian still the priority? Doggo deciding that wasn't the problem in game number 2 here. Still the aggression. So Lucian Nami on the side of BLG. Poppy is available. Talia is available. Wukong is available. Plenty of priority picks here for WE to choose from.
Yeah, one thing to mention though is a lot of these AD carries that we saw answer banned away. So Zeri, we saw answering Lucian Nami in game 1 banned. Aphelios, we saw answering in game 2 banned. I wonder what WE will bring out, because, you know, as much as the Lucian Nami has struggled in this series, we don't really see the responses that we typically get available. But WE for now will just take that Poppy, which obviously is a really strong pick, and we'll see what they want to go. If they do want to match in the bot lane, they have to at least pick half of it now. Looks like they might just go for the Fiora again. I mean, pretty bold statement to come out with this one so early in this draft.
I like it though, honestly. Like, with how it went in last game, with Demon being a player that you want to set up for success on the top side, why not just lock him in pretty much the strongest top laner on the patch? You know, Bin had the counter pick last time around. It didn't help him, so it doesn't really matter if it's this early on in the draft. Nice stuff here from the side of Demon. Nami obviously going to be locked in here from the side of BLG, and perhaps something like a jungler to round it out.
Well, this is the thing, is that this is why, you know, you obviously commit into the Lucian Nami, but you telegraph it. So WE taking the Fiora, they know BLG has a choice. Do you match top or do you match jungle? If you want to pick something like the Trundle and the Poppy, you have to do it now. If you want to pick a top lane answer to the Fiora, again, you can only do one. And it looks like they're leaning towards the Trundle. So they have a jungle answer, but no top answer. And WE are like, look, the Lucian Nami is not enough of a problem. We are committing on our solo laners. Shanks gets the LeBlanc, and Demon gets the Fiora. The only thing is they can only ban away like 2 picks. They can't target both roles. The likely takeaway, I think, you know, there were a lot of things open when the Fiora was picked, and yet they're still banning the Jax. I was going to say, I felt like maybe they would ban away the answers to the LeBlanc, but a Lissandra ban, I think, would make a lot of sense for WE.
Yeah, perhaps could go towards the Lissandra ban to deny Icon, because A, it's good against the LeBlanc, but also B, like, Icon is just an absolute monster on the Lissandra. Nautilus being taken away from Kedaya, trying to deny any kind of CC lockup in that bottom side. Obviously, the Lucian Nami want to be able to move freely there, and some of these supports like Nautilus, like Leona, like Alistair as well, can kind of ruin Lucian's combo and stop him being able to just get that burst damage out. Over to the side of WE though, do they ban this Lissandra from Icon is the question.
They go for the RB instead, so Lissandra open, and I feel like that probably makes sense to me as the pick for Icon, especially if you want to lean towards the side lanes. We'll see when it comes out. But Lucian taken, Xayah taken, Lulu's still open and available. So Cog Lulu was something that I've heard about and seen played into Lucian Nami. That is potentially an option. It looks like they might go for something in a little bit of a different direction. Senna plus, you know, either Tahm or Seraphine is something you could play. You could play like Jinx. They are going to go for the Tahm, so they could go Tahm Jinx, but you know, you wouldn't be able to do much for the Jinx before level 6 to help. But you could also go, you know, Senna or Jinx makes sense sync with this. And now BLG, they have to answer the solo laners WE.
Yeah,
I
they need to
hope
figure
it's
out.
not the Renekton. I'm going to be real.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be Renekton again. No chance. The Jax obviously taken off the board as well. Bin not looking quite as Giga Chad this time around as that Lissandra we discussed already for Icon. Very likely the pick. That Talia as well. I mean, we haven't seen it all series long. It's kind of been ignored in that mid lane. I think the Lissandra is still a better pick just in terms of that mid lane matchup, personally.
Yeah, I mean, it depends what you're going to play for. I mean, the Arrival to Earth pretty strong in what WE has. Sandra's best in the matchup and has the early agency. Azir scales pretty well if they're concerned about that. They do go for the Lissandra in the end. I'm not particularly surprised. And now for WE, to see what they opt into, if it is going to be something like the Jinx or it is going to be that Senna. There is one thing to be mentioned, that like Senna Tahm does have a good amount of sustain, so if you avoid getting bursted, you can heal up a lot of the damage from Lucian Nami, but still, Tahm isn't the most useful into that lane in terms of providing pressure. Like, Lucian should always just be able to avoid your knockup, but they do end up going for that Senna Tahm, which we haven't seen that much of recently, just in the past few weeks of the LPL.
Feels like it kind of fell out of fashion, right, in the LPL. But for the side of WE, bring it back into the play. If I'm not mistaken, this is the first time that we're seeing Lucian. We're seeing Senna Tahm Kench from WE. I'm pretty sure we've seen the Tahm Kench from Kedaya once, but I don't think we've seen the Senna, unless I'm mistaken here. So WE trying a different style. One of the weird things I will say, if you've not practiced much of the Senna Tahm Kench, you do kind of need to play as a team around the Senna to make sure she's getting the souls early on, like linking up with the jungler, etc. So might be a style of gameplay that WE is not super comfortable with.
I would assume that they're experienced on it, but there's a lot of teams in the LPL who have played Senna Tahm and not like given. It's not just the souls, but also like some teams will not give the Senna any farm. And like there's a cap you can hit early, and there's a cap like you want to maintain that, because I've seen games where like the enemy AD carry will be 3 levels up on your Senna because you're not giving it any farm. She's just getting souls. And ultimately, yes, souls are very nice, but gold and experience are also necessary. If you're 3 levels down and you have 1 item and the enemy Lucian has, well, 1 item and the support item, which I don't really count, and the enemy Lucian has 3 items, then no, you're not going to be as useful. So hopefully WE have a track on that and will try and mitigate that to an extent. But ultimately, I feel like once again, WE have some pretty strong scaling elements, whereas for the side of BLG, they definitely want to get the ball rolling early, but it's not as doomed as in the previous game. You know, as much as WE do have more scaling options, it's not like the game just completely falls apart the second you lose one fight, which kind of was how that previous game was.
Yeah, and we saw that before our very eyes, right? I am curious to see how WE will do. Remember, WE on the cusp of their first win of the split. They have 3 series remaining, including this one. 3 chances to get a win on the board, to not tie V5. Excuse me, in terms of just terrible splits. I'm really hoping they can get this win on the board, especially after how BLG drafted in game number 2. I really feel like WE deserve the win at this point if they can make it happen. Demon scouting what's going on, the ward on WeiWei as well. He'll drop a ward into that red buff, but WE aware of the situation.
Yeah, so we'll match the vision on both sides and just be able to keep the track. It's actually pretty important. We saw, if anyone missed it, there was a series earlier with RNG against TT where Wei, funny enough, WeiWei is playing the same matchup as Wei played earlier, but the aggression for the Trundle early caused a lot of issues. Oh.
Bit of damage onto Crisp here. You know, Lucian Nami level 1, not actually the strongest combo ever, so Xing and Kedaya happy to take that trade because Xing will have sustain in this lane. Oh, a nice little Q as well to get a bit of poke onto Crisp. So good little start to the lane here from Xing and Kedaya.
Yeah, oh, that's some rough soul RNG, the fact that it popped away, but Xing actually is able to walk up and get it. That's the thing, level 1 from Senna Tahm, very strong. And Lucian Nami really waiting for that level 3 before they can really start to play a bit more aggressive in the lane and start to poke down at Tahm. The ideal thing is you're getting damage on the Senna because she doesn't have... because if you're hitting the Tahm, not only does he get healed by Senna, but he also has the great health and a Dorna shield. But typically, it's hard for the Lucian to ever reach the Senna unless you missteps.
Oh my god, look at the struggle in this top lane.
That's the thing with Fiora's W, is even if it doesn't like block a hard CC and stun you, the attack speed slow is so ridiculous. Like Bin just canceled 2 autos because he had like negative attack speed there.
Good trade from Icon, but kind of answered by Shanks as well. I feel like we've got some aggressive solo lanes here. Both of them getting extremely low in both solo lanes as Demon continues to trade onto Bin. Does have a bit of sustain just from turning into Mega Gnar here, but somewhat will be matched as View moving in behind the lane here, behind the tower. But Demon can't actually crash this right now, especially with another wave landing.
Yeah, and it's going to be a lot of time invested. I don't think it's a big issue if the dive works, but if you aren't able to pull it off or the dive fails, like, this is going to be an absolute disaster for WE. So, fingers crossed they can make it happen. Bin is still in mini for the time being, so it shouldn't be too hard.
Okay, here we go. View needs to tank this one. Bin going to be slammed against the tower. Didn't actually get stunned, but it won't matter. View does tank it and just about survives. Dive in the bottom side as well. Xing in trouble. Flashes out to safety though. Kedaya there. Doggo will be next to tank the tower. One more shot will not land. And the flash from Kedaya to follow Doggo over the wall. Trying to get his E back up. And he gets on out. Kedaya can't answer the kill.
Oh, huge there that they're able to do so. I mean, one thing with the Senna Tahm is that ultimately the Tahm is one farming, so it's not as big of a hit if the Senna gets killed as like, you know, if the AD carry typically gets killed. But we do get a trade in terms of dives. This bot lane dive, level 2 only, and that's the thing, before 6, the Senna doesn't actually have that much help for the Tahm. Kench do actually hit level 3. The knockup comes in, but it's flashed away from here. Doggo grabs aggro very late and is able to flash that last tower hit, and then here, the refund on the E coming in clutch, and Chris blocking the tongue lash and getting that stun in.
Yeah, really, really crucial there from Crisp at the end of the play. And it does mean that it's a 1-for-1 across the map here. Exciting start to things. The one issue I will say is even though Bin was the one that went down on the top lane play, look at the CS difference up there. Bin almost double the CS of Demon off the back of this early game.
I feel like if they start to get that as like a win con, they can really progress it. They'll start to push forward the pace of the game.
Yep, absolutely. It's Chicken's going to be started up here by View. Trying to threaten Icon in the mid lane. Shanks doesn't want to be too aggressive though. Doesn't want to get rooted up under that tower after taking aggro. That's a dangerous situation to find yourself in. But the burn from the corrupting pot will certainly be doing some work there, as we see WeiWei moving down towards the bottom side. Now, Drake is alive on the map, but as we've seen across the course of 12-14 so far, usually the first Drake not really touched until after Herald.
Yeah, typically like that 10-minute mark, 11-minute mark is when they sort of look towards that. Like Herald is taking the priority as like that first objective, just because it's so much easier to take. The fact that the Herald obviously has the eye, but also just Dragon's being so tanky, so don't expect really anything to come out yet, but we got a lot of posturing around mid here.
Oh, View so low already on the play. There's an ult from Icon and an easy pickup for BLG. Just View going way too aggressive on the play.
Big overstep, and you have to be so respectful of the Lissandra, because not only do you get that extra burst of damage at level 6, but it's like so many champions could do so little against the Lissandra ultimate. You just locked in place, boom, you're dead. It's such easy setup, and a big reason why so many... Ooh, that was a lot of damage.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Xing, he may not die on this play, but he might as well have, because look how many minions are dying underneath the tower. Xing going to miss the XP for the vast majority of it. He's trying to move back in, but Kedaya now loses half of his HP. And just the sheer pressure that Doggo and Crisp are putting down in this bottom side. This is the first game in the series where we really see the Lucian army actually have the power in lane that it's meant to have. View, I don't know if you want to dive Mega Gnar right now. I'm not sure that's the play.
Yeah, I think this is way too risky to go for. And we're seeing so much pressure built up on the bot side for BLG, and the fact they're able to defend them makes such a big difference. I think, honestly, one of the things is that Tahm does nothing for the Senna, whereas, like, before, we were seeing the Lulu come in. Both games, we saw the Lucian Nami answered by Lulu. The Lulu can shield AD carry when Lucian goes for the trade. The Lulu can polymorph in response to stop the Lucian from dashing and getting out again. Whereas the Tahm, like, if you actually think about it, what is the Tahm doing when Lucian hits Senna? It's like, at best, tongue lashing. Like, you're never going to hit the W on a Lucian. And it's just like, it's basically like the trades are just so heavily stacked in favor of the Lucian army. We're starting to see it really take over the lane.
Yeah, we really are. You know, we can talk about scaling for the Senna, but at the end of the day, that's a long way away. We are miles off the point where that conversation becomes relevant. So in terms of control right now, it's all in the favor of BLG, and that small CS lead still in favor of Bin, but there is a big old wave there, so I think Demon should be able to even that up at least somewhat. I will say, Shanks doing a really good job of building a CS lead in that mid lane, right? He's about 2 waves up currently.
Yeah, I mean, pretty substantial advantage. This has been something that can sometimes happen with Icon, is that like he over roams and falls behind. To be honest, we haven't seen like a ton of presence in the side lanes, but now Demon, you're on a very low amount of HP with no flash.
It's a disaster. Here we go. Grand challenge pop just to try and survive, but the Pillar of Filth does so much to deny the play from Demon. Used his Ghost there as well. We'll have teleport, so that one plate just going to be shared here by Crisp and Bin. Crisp just going to proc his support item as well off the tower. But ultimately, Demon, not much you can do in that one. Has TP, so can rejoin the play for Herald.
Yeah, so I think they're trying to make a play for it. Like, bear in mind, Doggo's not there. And Doggo doesn't have TP, so I guess this is why BLG are backing away. Seems pretty big to just give up the Herald in this manner. But I guess they're just happy with the plates and gold onto Lucian. They'll take that as the positive of the trade. And I think there's already a decent amount of damage already done to that bot tower before. And now Demon's here. He'll just be able to defend and stop anything more from happening. But still, 2 plates taken already. Oh, Doggo. Oh.
Yeah, not ideal for Doggo there.
It's been a rough series
he
for him.
Overestimated what Demon could do. It really has been. Doggo not having the best series of his life, but you know, it happens. It happens. Not everyone can have the best day ever every day. We just have that exclusively for Dagda, unfortunately.
Yeah. It's not a Lego movie, right?
Everything is awesome, except for Doggo's cleanse, which was not awesome.
Yeah, a little bit less than awesome, you know, for once. Yeah, I think at this point, Herald and Pocket for WE, if they can use that to try and secure the first dragon, that's typically the best place. Like if you could throw it down mid when the setup's coming for dragon, force BLG to respond, and lean into that, that's a solid one. But honestly, like, gold at all in general will be a positive. And they have their win cons, right? Honestly, I think something I talked about before was the fact that Senna often ends up starved from gold and experience. That's the whole point. It's fasting Senna. So if you can get plate gold on Xing, it has like more value because, you know, if you're wanting gold on a carry who tends to have less gold, it makes a bigger difference when you're getting like that extra plate value.
Yeah, exactly. You do get a lot out of grabbing plates. I will say WeiWei so far having a fantastic game for himself as well. 2-0-1, part of every single play BLG have made so far. It's WE in trouble on the bottom side again. Looks like no dive this time around. Icon and WeiWei just going to move towards that Drake. And as you can see, Icon kind of with the over roaming that you were talking about before, right? He's moved over for the bottom side to help with the Drake, but he's lost another wave in the mid lane for that. He's now 20 CS down.
Yeah, and honestly, LeBlanc, you know, can be really powerful. You can get a farm lead. Like, that's one of the things that typically LeBlanc ends up struggling to just farm consistently because she has quite poor wave clear. Especially, everyone's seen those solo queue games. It's like Katarina and LeBlanc are those champions where, you know, they end up having like 60 CS at 20 minutes but have like 18 kills or something ridiculous. Like with Shanks farming up here, he can pose a pretty significant threat in the later stage of the game and is able to keep that farm lead pretty high. Herald did come down mid, obviously. They got those 2 plates. They did end up sacrificing the dragon, but getting some gold onto the LeBlanc, definitely not something you will regret.
Absolutely not. Icon feeling a bit of pressure in this mid lane, but does have his jungler nearby. View is there too, though. Icon doesn't commit to the Claw of Doom as WeiWei 1v1ing View here. Will use the cone, but it's a little too late. And it does mean View walks away with his life now. In the bottom side, Doggo moving forwards. It's a tidal wave onto the support. Tahm Kench knocked up here. Culling not quite enough to finish the kill.
A lot of damage done, but yeah, I mean, the Tahm Kench probably one of the few champions tanky enough to just soak a full culling in that situation. Obviously, Xing would fare a lot worse. They still have the ultimates available for themselves to play defensive on the tower here, but you're seeing them really struggle with the harass out of this Lucian nami. And I mean, I know the options were limited in terms of what they could take, but like, they opted into this matchup, and it really hasn't gone well for themselves. Now, Shanks is looking, but doesn't find the chain. Ooh.
Knock up onto Crisp here. Big damage from Xing. Dawning Shadow as well, but Kedaya now, he's getting turned on himself. Great bubble onto Xing. Doggo doesn't have the cooldowns to follow up, though. Has to cleanse himself. Kedaya moving on forwards. It's a close 2v2. But nobody goes down in the end. About as close as that could have been, honestly.
The WE bot lane are happy with this. They burned all the sums from BLG, and they kept both their flashes, which, let's be real, those are the big ones, right? Managing to put a lot of pressure down. This is the thing with Lucian nami. Short trades, great. Using the cooldowns, Lucian, fantastic. But once you burnt those, in the earlier stage of the game, there's a lot of downtime. You're just waiting for your E cooldown. You don't have enough CDR to be able to like get it back again. Like, you may get a second one after a few seconds, but then you're really starved for abilities. And so in that extended trade, WE's bot lane just started to outvalue with the Senna Tahm, but we do see that famous one-item spike I love to talk about with the Mandate and the Gale Force. This is when this BLG bot lane should be super scary.
Oh yeah, this is the point at which Doggo and Crisp can find pressure themselves. And we saw that in the previous game, right? Tried to make that play in the mid lane onto Xing and Kedaya and almost killed both. They both walked away on about 100 HP, so keep your eyes on Doggo's Lucian. However, with the summoners down, they might not be able to be that aggressive. Big damage onto Crisp. Good little play from Shanks to get some pressure out.
I feel like one of the things, like playing a champion like Nami, like just enchanters in general, but particularly Nami, who doesn't have any shielding, only healing, so it can be a bit difficult to mitigate damage rather than sustain up after. It's so scary playing against things like LeBlanc, things like Lissandra, Ari, like all these things that could just be hiding. And bear in mind, you know, Crisp is level 6, because obviously that's what happens on support pro play. You roam, you don't get as much XP. Shanks is level 11. That is not a recipe for a good time.
That is almost double the level right now of Shanks versus Crisp, which, you know, like you say, that is expected in terms of the roles, but still means a lot in terms of damage here. Big root coming across the team, though, as View tries to protect his team. Shanks gets a root as well onto WeiWei. Neither team can finish anything off just yet, and this feels tentative. Remember, both teams really, really want this win. For WE, it's about pride. For BLG, though, this is about playoffs. They can't afford to lose another one, especially after losing game number 2.
Now WE looking for the engage.
Just going to flash on in View, the one to start things off, but we'll follow up from the squad here as Shanks goes in as well. Kedaya tries to find a knock-up, but just CC'd by Icon. Dawning Shadow to keep the TK alive, but there isn't enough sustain there. BLG get one pick. They turn it into 2 as Bin joins the fray. And that will be a Herald, and finally, a significant advantage for BLG.
Yeah, and I think WE just making a mistake. I mean, View oversteps, doesn't find the engage. You're trying to force with the Poppy. If you're not hitting the middle wall, it's not going to work. And then it's an easy turnaround for BLG. The tanks on WE are getting shredded by the power of the Lucian now, even without the Trundle ult being there. But yeah, View so overforced the flash. You can see the angle he was looking for, but it just doesn't happen. And then, I mean, at the end of the day, they could have just walked away. They could have just backed off, but they try and overforce here. Flash comes out from WeiWei, so the Tahm doesn't connect. And this is one of the issues with this composition from WE. It's fine at kiting backwards or like finding picks or something, but engaging a 5v5, there isn't really anyone who can do it easily.
No, there really, really isn't. Unless you can find, like, I mean, no, your statement is correct. Nobody can do it easily. If you can find like a route from Senna, Tahm Kench can get a knock up, etc. But like you say,
5-man route from Senna into 5-man Kedaya W into 5-man View ult knock up. Yeah, I mean,
they call that the 2-man or 3. They call that the 3-champ Malphite. I think is the term. This Herald gets it charged out of the mid lane. Deep water dive just about comes off from Kedaya. Big damage out from Shanks though. Actually, I say that he did basically no damage. Here we go. Second charge from the Herald. Remember, this is the second Herald, so it's tanky. And even though the eye was procced there, still gets its charge on.
Look at the souls. Xing, get them all. Only got 3. We got a 4. Yeah, you'll take it. You'll take it. I mean, this is kind of the issue that I was talking about with Senna. So, like, Xing is 2 levels down on Doggo. Doggo is nearly got the second item. And Xing has gone for Humble Glaive, which is cheap, and still doesn't have it done. Oh, Shanks looking.
Does manage to pull himself away before the damage can come on through. Shanks has that flash because he W'd aggressively, didn't ping back towards it. Bin walking forwards, trying to contest vision here. This will be the second Drake for BLG, and by the looks of things, with the control they have in the mid lane, they should be able to grab it.
Yeah, and I mean, 9% armor and MR is nothing to ignore. Having that for the rest of the game. Honestly, the fact they have the Hextech Dragon, that extra boost to attack speed, ability haste, and this Mountain Dragon makes a big difference. View looking for WeiWei. WeiWei has no flash though. He can't get out.
He's got teammates over the wall though, and View does not have that much HP. Bin coming in the top side of the play as well. WeiWei just chills at the back of the pit while the rest of BLG just wipe the floor with WE. Kedaya will not escape from this one. Bin wanted a little more as well, but he won't get it. He just chucks over a boulder to take out the frog. And this is looking brutal in favor of BLG.
Looking more similar to that game 1. You know, this is kind of the aggression that you guess they wanted in game 2, but it just ended up falling flat. But now with a 6k gold lead, WB are looking to be in such a rough position. The Gnar, you can see Bin before taking over the matchup for the top lane. We're going to replay of that team fight. Yeah, they thought they'd found WeiWei. They were like, yeah, this guy has no flash. We can just kill him. But you eat a culling over the wall, and Bin is also coming in on this flank angle. Like, look how much damage is done to View here. And then Bin just steps up and goes, okay, I'll take that kill.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if BLG wins this game now and they don't make playoffs on 1 game difference, they deserved it. Like, after game number 2, the way that they drafted and played in game 2, if they actually don't make playoffs now after this series, I feel like they just brought that on themselves, to be quite honest here. WE clearly outclassed here in game number 3, clearly outclassed in game number 1 as well. A bit of a tough one for WE, honestly, but at the end of the day, this is BLG. This is a roster that spent literally millions spent on this roster. Whereas on the other side for WE, the same cannot be said.
Yep. And it's kind of surprising it's gotten to this point where BLG are fighting to make their way into playoffs. And if they do close out this game, win the series 7-9 with a negative game difference, I think they would end up on a -4 game difference. Really puts them in a rough spot, but they are. Oh, WE looking.
This is the problem. You can't get the knockups with the Tahm Kench, and he has to flash away instead, keep his verdict. Goes wide here, culling now onto the team. Xing down to half HP. Demon behind enemy lines. He's on the Fiora, wants team fights for some reason. Now BLG move into the mid lane once again. They can just keep this up all day long. Dawning Shadow onto Icon, but he's Lysandre. He's still got his ultimate. He's still completely safe there.
Oh my god.
And I will say, Demon is not having the same kind of good time that he was last game on this Fiora.
I mean, he would love to run it back. Couldn't you have played the Renekton again? Definitely not. Bin 2 items already. He's gone for that Kempong chainsaw for that cheap spike, but the boulders are doing so much damage now. 8,000 gold lead at 20 minutes. And once more, you know, this is not the BLG that we've seen earlier in the split, earlier in the year, where they're setting a slow pace. Yes, they definitely did flub it in game 2, but it's clear that they are trying to accelerate the game rather than just being passengers and waiting for their spikes. And yeah, it has failed 1 time out of 3 so far. We'll see if it goes up to 2 out of 3 on this one, but I think at the moment this should just be easy, clean sailing. Like, Xing's just gonna get blown up here.
Yeah, he just bubbled the top Kench instead. Kedaya sacrificed for Xing's mistakes here. The tired away, flashed away from by Xing, and he will still just get chomped on down. The red buff taking away the subjugation as well to burn through the health bar. 2 more picks for BLG just as Baron has come up onto the map. And I feel like that's an easy turn now for BLG. View has his work cut out. He's got to earn his paycheck here if he wants to keep WE alive in the series.
I'm not sure they can even approach, honestly. I mean, they're going to try, but I think it's a hard ask, especially as Bin is about to hit Mega. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I gotta be real. I think you're doomed if you do, you're doomed if you don't, but it looks like they're just not going to be able to approach. And now, I mean, I feel like the issue with that fight was that Xing is the lowest level in the game, and especially with the durability patch, you get so much armor and MR. Like, you get even more than used to armor and MR. You get so much health. You get so many stats from levels. And being 3 levels down on your opponent, I mean, Xing is so squishy. Everyone just pops him. Like, the Trundle there basically one-hit him. And I mean, I'm sure we'll get to see the replay, but you just can't function in these situations. Xing needs so much time, and I just don't think BLG are going to give it over.
Yeah, absolutely not. I feel like they should be able to just group up and take control. Crisp thought that they were going to go towards him there. Shanks just trying to clear some vision in the pit. We have to get rid of that control ward, crucially. WeiWei, Doggo, Crisp moving over, trying to cut off the rotation from WE. And with Drake spawning, look at this. The potential threat towards that mid lane inhib forces everyone back away from WE, and it means BLG can have complete control of the Dragon area and can also continue to pressure the bottom side. Remember, they have a Baron, so they can come back to the Dragon later. They want towers for now.
Yeah, they want to use the Baron as much as possible, and there's no wave clear on WE. This is another thing. They have a LeBlanc in the mid lane. It's not like they have something that can just shred through the waves, so who can really stop this dive? Maybe the Poppy with the knockaway will slow them down, but not even.
And WeiWei's like, okay, I'll go start Drake then. Cheers, bro. Heads over that way. We'll return to the team as they pressure the bottom inhib here. It's 23 minutes in the game. This is absolute destruction from BLG. Bottom inhib will fall. They can move over to the mid lane here, as well as Icon has just been buffing a cannon minion. Icon literally, he's gone off to make a cup of tea. He's not even at his computer anymore, just watching the tower go down. Mid inhib should fall here as well. Pillar of Filth onto the team view, forced to flash. The culling from Doggo, not quite enough. So close to finishing the job onto the enemy jungler there. But now BLG, they just want to end things in style. What a way to end the series if they could do it. 23 minutes on the clock, almost 24, as WE try and force a fight here. Demon on the backside of the play, but he's just not tanky enough to get anywhere near. Doggo just hitting him so hard with every single auto. In he goes once more. Demon flashed upon and has to use the stopwatch. Grand challenge will not be much of a challenge for Doggo. This BLG just chase the members down. They make it look easy as BLG will take their series and WE denied once more.
They get that one done quickly, but still, even though they get the series win, even though it puts them on 7 series wins, still a delicate one because that one game loss could make all the difference in game difference. They've kept their playoffs hopes alive. They've kept the possibility there. But man, that game 2 is a painful one. And we'll have to see how the split pans out. We'll have to see how other teams do. It's just the state of the game at the start of the day is that even if BLG won, even if they 2-0'd, the fate wasn't purely in their hands. But it definitely will rely on other results to see if they can make it in the playoffs. Whereas WE still hunting for their first win. 2 left, 2 opportunities to break that only defeated streak.
Yeah, it's gotta feel so bad for WE when you had to fight so hard to get your win in game number 2, and then game number 3 and game number 1 are just so one-sided like that. Really disheartening for them, but at the end of the day, BLG getting themselves another win on the board, managing to find themselves those points, and crucially, keeping their playoff stream alive. They technically would have still been in the theoretical race for playoffs with 6 wins, but the odds would have been astronomically low at that point. But either way, they do manage to get themselves the win on the board. They do manage to get that 2-1 win. It's not an ideal win. They could have done with more points there, honestly. They could have done with a 2-0, but the dream is still alive at very least.
Yeah, I mean, the dream's alive. The -4 game score has some ramifications, though. You know, LNG are at -1, so even if LNG get 2-0'd in the next series, BLG can't catch them. And I think they would have the head-to-head against them. So, you know, these things make a difference. It's hard to specifically say right now that game will have denied them for playoffs. We don't know. They could still make playoffs. They could not make playoffs. That game may or may not have mattered. But at the end of the day, when when you have 1 series left, you want a 2-0. You want to get every single advantage you can. And they are in a tentative position right now. So they finished playing and they are 10th place in the standings, but they have no more series to play. FPX still have a series to play and they can beat them out on game difference. Thunder Talk still have series to play. OMG, LNG, AL do. Things can shift, but man, it is not a comfortable spot to be in. And I think this is kind of indicative of the split we've had from BLG. Yes, they did bring things up at the end, but they really haven't set the level we had in terms of expectations. And as much as game 1 and 3, we saw that, just a bit too inconsistent.
Yeah, inconsistent, not really able to make that happen regularly enough. And out of the teams on 7 wins right now, they have the worst game difference. If Thunder Talk can get 2 wins on the board, they will just straight up overtake Bilibili. But also, if TT get 1 win on the board and manage to gain 3 game difference, basically, which I think is only possible if they win both of their series, I'm pretty sure. But either way, it's very, very possible for BLG to be overtaken thanks to the fact that they couldn't get that 2-0 today. Looking at this, sorry, go on.
One of the issues is that if FPX have to play WE, and they were 1 game difference above BLG. So now if FPX beat WE, they overtake them. Like, it doesn't matter if it's 2-1, 2-0, does not mean anything. They just have to win against WE, and then FPX overtake BLG, and BLG will be hoping that someone from AL or OMG tank their game difference. So not the sort of condition you want to be relying on.
And realistically,